Hello, my name is Kacie Ellis. The study I have chosen for my learning project is titled The Effectiveness of the Gesture-Based Learning System and Its Impact on the Learning Experience. The study is authored by Chakram Wong and Fung from the Murdoch University in Western Australia. The study was carried out at Al-Maghrib University in Libya due to the researchers' access. First, what is gesture-based learning? Gesture-based learning is a perceptual user interface where the software reads human interactions. The perceptual user interface uses technologies such as gestures and voice recognition to create an intelligent user interface that is capable of understanding the human's natural actions. Recently, the Kinect sensor has given the PUI technology to everyday people with the Xbox Kinect. The Kinect was released in November 2010. It's made up of an RGB camera with microphone and depth sensor by using the infrared projector. With these three technologies, you truly are the controller. The sensor follows your moves and can even tell people apart. While this interaction has many names, this study has decided to refer to this type of learning as gesture-based learning. The gesture-based learning has been used in many different educational disciplines, including STEM, music and arts, social development, and physical therapy. Gesture-based learning provides unique and natural method for teaching material. It boosts student motivation and it masks it as play. It's a multimodal learning system that facilitates kinesthetic interactions and coordinates with auditory and visual learners as well. Students are interacting with the material in a variety of ways. It engages students in physical activity during the class time. It also supports the embodied cognition theory, which states that students learn better when they combine cognitive tasks with physical movements. Interacting with tools changes the way we think and comprehend, which changes the way we perceive our environment. And of course, most importantly, it's cost effective. Cost is low at about $150 per sensor, so it would be very easy to have one of these in every classroom, compared to smart boards or other virtual technologies that can be very expensive. Prior studies have shown positive results for the Kinect-based learning methods. The Kinect-based learning method outperformed other technologies which compared to desktop learning systems, AR Magic Mirror, which is mostly used in anatomy, and Digital Learning Playground. Studies found that students that used the Kinect-based learning method recalled more information than those who used other methods. The technology itself outperformed other systems, and the Kinect-based learning method kept students' attention on the learning and was a more enjoyable experience. While those results were great, prior studies are missing the characteristics of the teachers and students. Therefore, this study focuses on how the student characteristics affect learning with the gesture-based learning system. The research questions answered in this study is, does the GBLS model positively influence the students' learning outcomes? And will the GBLS model be able to accommodate all students with different learning styles and spatial abilities? The learning styles and spatial abilities portion of the study is what makes it unique from all other studies that have been done on gesture-based learning systems. The research framework used in this study is the technology-mediated learning model. It is the basis and the foundation of how they set up their study. However, it was lacking. The technology-mediated learning model uses the technology and instructional strategy and their effect on psychological learning processes that influence learning outcomes. However, it ignores the teacher and the student characteristics such as learning styles and spatial abilities. The framework is made up of 3 dimensions. This framework is made up of 3 dimensions. The other, Alavi and Liedner, only used 2. This framework has the dependent variables, which is learning modes, the independent variables, which are the outcomes, and the moderating variables, which is the learner characteristics, and that was what has been missing in all of the other studies. This graph shows the research framework with the dependent variables being the learning modes, which are the 3 different groups of and types of software. The independent variables and the outcomes, academic performance, perceived learning effectiveness, satisfaction, and them overall will be compared to each of those 3 groups of the dependent variables. The moderating variables, or the learner characteristics, which are learning styles and spatial ability, will be tested against all of the results to see if they're impacted in any way. This research study was a quasi-experimental research design that used 3 groups randomly selected. The quasi-experimental research design often catches a bad reputation for not being reliable due to not controlling for group similarities. When your groups are completely different due to demographics or background, then it's really hard to compare them and say that they are significant. Each group has 66 students randomly chosen. All groups completed an initial questionnaire that included background information, a cold learning style inventory, and spatial ability test in order to appropriately measure the student characteristics. This graph shows the procedures for each group. Group A is the gesture-based learning system, Group B is the computer simulation software, and Group C is the conventional learning mode. Both Groups A and Group B had a 10-minute intro to the technology before starting the lecture. All groups received a lecture using different modes. Topic for all groups were the same: introduction to the solar system and time measurement. After the lecture, each group completed the post-test and final questionnaire. Results. This study found that the gesture-based learning mode was significant and outperformed in perceived learning effectiveness, satisfaction, and overall. However, they found that the academic performance was not statistically significant. With that being said, the GBLS group did score higher on the post-tests. The statistical analysis just found that it was not statistically significant. This question took the spatial ability and learning styles and tested it against each of the first 4 hypotheses from question 1. None of these were found statistically significant. This could be due to the fact that the groups were not comparable. In conclusion, students in the gesture-based learning mode achieved higher scores than the other 2 groups in all of the learning outcome areas. The gesture-based learning group was able to accommodate all learners with different learning styles and spatial abilities. It also provided an inclusive classroom environment for all modalities. My personal reaction to this study is that there were a lot of positive things found, even though they may not have been statistically significant results in some cases. Student performance was still higher with the gesture-based learning system. It seems that students also really enjoyed the learning that way. So that's always positive whenever you can find and find students and get them motivated for learning. I believe a longitudinal study would be appropriate. So over time, how does this look with all types of learners? And of course, maybe even using a control group with similar group participants. It was just really, they had 3 groups that were so different. They were really hard to compare, and they ran a few statistical analysis on the groups to see if they were comparable at all, and they were very not statistically significant at all. Yeah, and all schools should be able to have the gesture-based learning system to connect in each classroom because it is so cheap. I do believe some development would be needed for our faculty to be able to use these in an effective manner. Here are the references. If you have any questions, feel free to read through the PDF that is posted below.